I was sitting exactly here on the floor in the kitchen in the middle of the night. I was exhausted, angry, disappointed because I was the only one in charge of running around all night because my 2-year-old twins were up every few hours. I was working the same amount of hours as my partner, but somehow it was all on me. And I was so sleep deprived and so close to a complete breakdown. I didn't realize it at the time, but anger wants to protect us. It's basically a clue that a boundary needs to be set and the word no has to be said. And I knew something had to change in order for me to not get over that burnout threshold. Setting boundaries is not a one-time thing. You have to create them all the time and really fight for them, especially if someone else is affected by it, because nobody likes change, especially not kids, at least not mine. But what is a boundary? How does it help? How do you set boundaries? And what does even saying no has to do with boundaries? Thank you. Good questions. I'm going to answer them all, but first let's go sit somewhere more comfortable. I should have washed the rug before filming this. So let's go. Stop looking at my dirty rug and come with me. Better. First of all, I'm going to explain to you why it's so hard to say no. Constantly agreeing in situations where you rather say no is causing you stress. So if you can't or won't do something, you have to consider the consequences. If I continue to bring my kids to bed every night, stress factor number 1, be up every few hours, mega stress factor number 2, and even get up every morning and make them breakfast, stress factor number 3, what is the worst case scenario? Try to analyze it realistically. I'm going to completely lose it, and no one will profit from it, me the least. I really can see the ups in this scenario if I keep doing this. So the next logical step is to decline. Thank you, but I will not do this anymore. But remember, learning to say no will take time. It took me about a whole year from the realization that something had to change to actually change something, to start to set boundaries. Because I prioritized other people's needs, so aka my kids, over mine. I also wanted to avoid the conflict that would follow because I just didn't have the energy at the time. Therefore, I continued to say yes over and over, just to keep the environment peaceful and comfortable for them. And also, I actually didn't know what I wanted, what I needed at the time. These are usually the reasons why it's so difficult to say no, because it's natural to want to be liked by others. Other reasons may also include fear of being left out, lack of confidence, a worry about disappointing others, fear of abandonment, and also because it can be regarded as rejecting the other person. It can be a lifelong journey to learn to say no, especially in a world where there's so much pressure on being agreeable and accommodating. But keep in mind that saying no to someone else means saying yes to ourselves. Saying no is a choice. It's a commitment to your well-being. When you say no to the things that drain you, you are making more room for the things that make you happy. So it's an act of self-preservation. So what is a boundary? Healthy boundaries are like your safe place around you. It's about establishing what you can and cannot handle in terms of time, but also energy. Boundaries are like your personal guidelines for a balanced life. I will give you an example on how boundaries can sound like. I will end this phone call if you keep shouting at me. My sister is a master in this one. I still am sometimes the type of person sits there and listens for half an eternity to the complaining and bullshit from the other person. In the meanwhile, I feel my energy literally leaving my body. And she just hangs up. And by doing so, she preserves a lot of energy. Another boundary could sound like this: I can stay, but only for 1 hour. Or I respect your opinion, but this is my decision. And this is an important one to learn if you have kids, because basically everyone has an opinion on how you should raise your kids. And this one also saves a boatload of energy on your side. And one other could be, I need time to think, I will come back to you. Now to the how. How do we set these boundaries? You start by stating your needs. Boundaries are usually present where there's a need to be met. We all have needs, and if they're violated, we feel a certain way. We feel anger, disappointment, sadness. So you have to voice your needs if you want someone to respect them. Otherwise, they won't be met. I voiced my needs over and over, but no one cared because I was still doing all the things. That's why there also have to be consequences, or nothing will happen because the other party is happy by the way things are. They don't have to be extreme. You can just tell that you won't be doing certain things anymore. It was taking me about an hour to put the twins to bed, so I clearly stated to my boyfriend how we were going to do this moving forward, because I was not going to do this every night anymore. To have a suggested solution is not a must. You can work out together how you will try to meet your boundaries. I told him that we were going to alternate putting them to bed. Of course, the twins weren't too happy about it, but you are not selfish for setting boundaries. When you start to set boundaries, people will notice, because people hate change and they will fight to get the old way back. But remember that you are doing this for you, to save your energy. So he had to learn to endure their protests and the screaming for a few days, till they started to get used to the new way things were going to be. Of course, it was difficult also for me, because if you hear them crying, you want to go rescue them, but don't do that. You know when they need rescuing, and the other parent bringing them to bed is not such a situation. You really have to prioritize yourself. And your mindset has to change on this, because if you don't prioritize yourself, you will feel bad every time you set a boundary, you say no, and you will go back on your tracks. It will take a little bit of time to learn this, but stay strong, you got this. I also started small. The first thing I did is to tell my partner that if I'm up all night, at least he can do breakfast. So we started to implement just that at first. Afterwards, I went on to split up the bringing to bed. I'm still working on the getting up at night though. But I will get there, or the twins will start to sleep through the night, whatever comes first. But setting these boundaries gave me a lot of energy and balance back. Because if it's his turn to bring them to bed, I can relax with a book, I can go take a shower, I can just start the evening slow and not with a cortisol rush. Now I want to give you a few practical tips to make it easier on you to say no. If you clearly define and stick to your boundaries, if someone comes and asks something from you that doesn't align with that, it's easier for you to say no. When saying no, be direct and firm. Use simple phrases, clearly communicate your decision, and don't use excuses. And here are a few different ways you can say no. At the beginning, it's hard. You can start by saying no to little requests from family and friends. For example, to a social event, to running errands. So in situations where the stakes are low and the consequences minimal. But it will help you gain confidence. Try to keep it simple. Don't go into details or long explanations. just say no. The word no is a complete sentence, and learning to say it is a key aspect of maintaining your sanity. And also remind yourself of your worth. Remind that you don't have to please others. Your time and energy are valuable. Saying no doesn't mean you reject the other person. It means that you value and respect yourself. Again, remind yourself that it is okay to prioritize yourself. Setting boundaries and saying no are the foundation for self-care. But simplifying your life and learning to make time for you is what really will keep your energy and your happiness up, so that you will be able to continue to take care of others. So go see this video to learn a few ways you can simplify your life beyond just saying no. I hope this video helped. Ciao!